last one here. Going to be talking about some more women's MMA. Again, that interview with Aaron Bronstetter that I mentioned. This happened Wednesday. That was when the interview was published. He asked Dana White about Kayla Harrison. And now previously, when they talked about Kayla Harrison, the discussion seemed to me to be very much like Dana was saying, oh, Kayla should probably stay in the PFL. She makes that much money to beat up on talent that is well below the caliber that she should be fighting at. If I was her, I would stay there. You don't want to fight Amanda Nunes, this or that. Kind of it's a bit of like a backhanded compliment, if you will. But it was definitely, a lot of people called it out as being like, just hardball negotiation or whatever tactics. And that might be the case because he confirmed in this interview that the UFC is negotiating with Kayla Harrison as we speak. They are in talks. You mentioned she will be in attendance.
That's what it looks like.
Card, for UFC 269. And, that's cool. But another note here was Dana, before even talking about Kayla, was asked about the trilogy fight that apparently everyone's been asking for between Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. Obviously just saying fuck you, Juliana Pena in this instance, asking him what his thoughts are about having those two fight a third time. And in the past, Dana was kind of cold on it. Then it seemed like after Valentina's last win, he was like, if they want it, I'm all about it at this point. And then in this interview, it was interesting because he's like, well, I've thought about it a lot, and I just don't know if I see the reason to do it. Yeah. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
You're one of us.
The Joes.
So I guess with all this being brought up within the span of like 5 minutes in this interview, Dominic, to me, once I heard him say that he was more unsure about Nunes Shevchenko, obviously I know Dana is a guy who shoots from the hip or whatever. We said that about Cruz. I mean, he says what's on his mind. I have no doubt that he truly says how he feels, but also this is a guy that is constantly working. I mean, this is a guy that's always involved in the negotiations. He's involved in everything that this company does. When I have no doubt that him being a little bit colder on this Nunes Shevchenko fight is less because he came to a realization that he doesn't really like the fight, and more because it's looking like the UFC will secure Kayla Harrison, and that is the more immediate fight for Amanda Nunes. What are your thoughts on that scenario, and do you kind of hold the same opinion as me?
I mean, how the turntables, in the great words of Michael Scott, because what a 180 here from Dana White. And, Kayla was at UFC 268. It looks like she was in a plane on her way somewhere today, and I'm just assuming, but you know what they say about assuming anyways, that she's going to be there in attendance, not only because she's working with the UFC and negotiating, but at the end of the day, her teammate Amanda Nunes is fighting in a championship fight, so she's going to be there in support. And, well, maybe to size her up a little bit more too, Noah. But, this was surprising, definitely exciting, but I have my, cautions, if you will, too, because you and I have been big on whatever is to come next for Kayla. We weren't gung-ho on just launching her in with Amanda or with Chris Cyborg. We're all right with, okay, go ahead and come to one of the bigger promotions because you're obviously going to get a step up in competition, get one or two in, see how you fare, and then by all means, go ahead and take the title fight. But it looks like if the UFC signs her, they know exactly what they're going to do with her, and that's feed her to the lioness, Amanda Nunes. So it's very interesting, man. We're going to be obviously all over this over the next couple of weeks to see what happens, because Bellator was really gung-ho. Scott Coker was all about bringing her over. So now they might just be in like a bidding war. Who's going to give the most money? What's going to make the most sense for Kayla? It's very exciting, very interesting. And, man, is she going to do it? I'm going to have to say yes. No, it looks like all signs are pointing toward Kayla Harrison in the UFC in 2022.
Yeah, and I was the one that said I thought that had the least chance of happening out of her three options. Between Bellator, PFL, and UFC, I was like, yeah, the UFC is the least likely to happen. But when you're a company that big, and yes, Bellator is the number 2, but a sizably less so
Yeah.
number 2 in terms of how much money they have to throw around. Even if the UFC may not value her the way that a PFL would, where they'd make her like the outright number 1 star, they still probably can offer her. I know this is a controversial. This might even end up being a controversial thing to say because of the people's thoughts on fighter pay, but it sounds like they can probably offer her more money than the PFL can. Yes, the PFL has the $1 million. You win, you get $1 million. But I'm just saying, you can do a lot for someone's career to go to the UFC.
The notoriety.
It's not even just about like the fight, the money you're getting to fight or to win. I mean, you got pay-per-view points. You got
the eyeballs that are on you, the sponsors.
Exactly. What could come of that is very big, I'm sure. For Kayla Harrison, she has proven that she is special.
Mm-hmm.
My reservation is just the idea of throwing her and Amanda into a fight immediately. Now, am I saying Kayla Harrison cannot win that fight? No, actually, I'd be very interested in seeing how her wrestling would do with Amanda Nunes. But I also understand that the jump up from Taylor Guardado to Amanda Nunes is, guys, Taylor Guardado would not be on the UFC roster probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe she would. I don't know. She would not be if they truly had, I don't know. It's kind of a nil point because that was women's lightweight. But all I'm saying is she is not a UFC caliber fighter, in my opinion, Taylor Guardado. And you're going from that as your probably best opponent you fought to Amanda Nunes, the best women's fighter of all time, one of the best fighters in general of all time.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Right.
And I understand they're training partners. So they
got a feel.
That is to her benefit. I mean, you've been in there with her, I'm sure, from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think it's a lot to ask out of Kayla, and I think there's got to be a concern that if Amanda does get the better of that fight, and you got to favor her at least somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Does that hurt Kayla Harrison moving forward if she gets beat in round 1?
If you're the UFC, what do you even do with her?
I mean, this is a woman who's going to fight at 145 pounds in the UFC. We just lost another women's featherweight fighter, Felicia Spencer, who, shout out to her, she's retiring, so shout out to her. But I mean, this division is
not a division. We've said it time and time again.
Yeah, it's just it makes me wonder: is this gonna be the move that would make them invest more?
True.
I mean, I think I keep holding out for that, but I don't know. I have a reservation, but at the end of the day, I cannot lie that if tomorrow or if Saturday they flashed a graphic, which they wouldn't do this because Amanda's fighting on that card, but if it said or even if it's just a graphic that said Kayla Harrison coming 2022, they did like the Brock Lesnar, can you see me now?
Yeah.
If they did that with Kayla Harrison, I cannot lie, I would be very excited, and I would, of course, be very hyped for a fight with her and Amanda Nunes. I'm trying to think of the long game here. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that's all for that one. Do you have anything else?
Are you telling me it's time to actually talk about UFC 269?
UFC 269.